Hi, I'm Neo Matsau, Executive Director at Bamboo. I'm here with David. Yeah.
I'm David Higgs, and I'm co-owner of Marble and Saint Restaurants with my business partner Gary Kiriakou. And we are here fishing for answers.
Let's go.
No, we're going to get straight into it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to shuffle this thing. Let's do this.
First question.
Rather you than me.
Yeah, okay. How early do you think we should be teaching children about entrepreneurship? Do you view it as the best solution to the current high rate of employment amongst the youth? Dun, dun, dun.
All yours.
Okay, cool. Let me try. I do think teaching children about entrepreneurship is really important. I think just when you're surrounded by the levels of crime and poverty, and like when scary things like COVID happen, you need to also look around you for solutions. And I think sometimes looking at institutions like government, looking at institutions like schools and churches can do a lot for you. But I think when you're in that scary place and you got to find solutions for yourself, I think entrepreneurship seems to give people the most amount of hope that something special can happen in their lives despite their circumstances. So I think it's a powerful thing to teach people that if they work hard, if they have a great idea, they can succeed. Yeah.
Absolutely, and go for it. I guess it's also about a gut feel.
Yeah.
True, if you feel something and you feel strongly about something, whether it's a project or whatever it is, that you should follow that dream. And that is definitely something you got to teach a child. Is go with your gut feel. And a lot of businessmen will talk. I'm not a businessman. I'm a chef. I've got a great partner, and that's what entrepreneurship is as well. You got to choose.
Absolutely.
I'm also full of great ideas, but I'm not great at business.
For sure.
So we need to pair with partners well, and if we teach our kids and the youth to follow the gut, I think that's a great start for sure.
Look, I also you raise such a good point, because if you have a conviction about something, and there's a solution for something you don't see out in the world, entrepreneurship is like the perfect way to solve the problems in your society.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if it is like the panacea, and I don't know if it works for everyone, because there's also self-discipline. There's like so many things that like being in a job is grateful.
Sure.
Some people really do well. So I don't want to be the kind of person that says everyone should be entrepreneurs. But for those who it calls, I think they should be given the skills quite early.
Definitely.
Okay.
Right.
Is it your turn? Yeah.
I'm next. How big of a role does persistence play in being an entrepreneur? Oh yeah. I think for me, one of the big things is and especially when you started at a young age. I was 29, I think, when I started my first business, and the first thing that happened after I'd signed leases and everything else, my bank at the time reneged on a deal.
Right.
I had no money, and obviously wrestled up the money and got this whole project going. It was a school, and very early on I realized, but I got to make a plan here, because I'm not going to see the year if this doesn't happen. So I started a catering company. So we went on to the next thing. So the one fed the other, and there was no guarantee that it was going to work.
Yeah, there never is.
But exactly that.
Yeah.
But we persist and we keep at it, and there is a lot of times that it won't work. But that doesn't mean that you must give up. You need to learn from the mistakes.
Right.
And again, partner with the right people. If partnership is where you're going, and
for sure,
identify what your strengths are.
Yeah.
And pair with somebody that's got other strengths. I mean, that's been a very important lesson in my life.
Right.
Is I've paired with the right people.
Right. Was the businesses that you're in now, and I think have a lot of success, is how many businesses did you have before this?
About 6.
Yeah. I think that speaks to the persistence, right? Absolutely. It's never the first shot.
No, it's never the first shot.
Yeah.
And but that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur and seeing a gap.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting. A program that had a lot of influence on me is the Empretech program done by UNCTAD, brought to the country by CEDA. And they kind of looked at entrepreneurship behaviorally, right?
Yeah.
So they said, look, what are the common traits amongst the best entrepreneurs in the world. And they found that it wasn't education, it wasn't race, it wasn't gender, it was behavior, right? And persistence is one of the key behaviors that they point out. And it's like it always comes up. And I see it more and more, right? Is the more times I'm around people who have some success in business, the more times I hear, it's the 5th time I did it, it's the 10th time I did it. And all those lessons and those knocks, right, were necessary parts to get to that place. So I think in many ways, persistence is about learning and having an openness to learning, especially from failure, right? Because failure is so difficult that it can debilitate you, right? And in some cases, it's not failure like your business got destroyed, but sometimes you're somewhere and the passion is gone. And you're like, what happened? When I started this, I loved it. And then you're like, oh no, I don't love it anymore, right? And going through those motions seems to be one of the most critical parts of getting to something that's successful. So I think persistence is absolutely critical. But also don't persist at the wrong things. Like I've also seen like people like stick with something just because they want to stick with it.
Well, I guess ego is a massive part of this.
Oh wow!
Yeah, is it not?
Powerful.
Like I can't be seen to fail.
Absolutely,
absolutely. And then your whole life goes to pieces because of that. You know, that's not what it's about either.
Yeah. And the self-discipline is like, I think a story that doesn't get told enough. Is it sounds sexy to be like your own boss. It's just the culture of it just sounds so intoxicating. It's a culture of that ego. But persisting means like the day you don't want to get up is the day you got to get up, right?
Exactly.
And it gets so personally scary where like there are moments where you don't want to be somewhere and you have to do it. And like those small little wins, like you look back, you're like, thank God I did that.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Okay,
You're
next
up.
one.
You're up.
These are some good questions.
I don't know.
Okay. What would you say makes entrepreneurship so important now more than ever?
Look, I think we find ourselves. I'm going to say why. I'm not going to say why it's important. I want to say why it gives it's such opportunity now to do things that you know, we've got to a place now. Let's talk about the restaurant and the hospitality industry that I'm in. Is that we've taken an incredible knock as of a number of businesses, and we've lost a lot of restaurants along the way. But what this has done, it's opened up a whole lot of opportunity.
Right.
You know, like within certain restaurant sectors.
So
at various levels. So in this hard time, all of a sudden we find that there's massive opportunity.
Right.
And we've identified that as well. We obviously have to be very careful about. We want to protect ourselves from going back into the same sort of slump if something like this happens again.
Absolutely.
And how do we do that? You know? But you don't also want to overanalyze it. And we talk about gut feels. So I would say if you're a young go-getter and you for whatever reason interested in our industry and don't like sleep a lot, you know, I would definitely say, you know, that there are gaps that need filling within the restaurant sector, and there's a lot of them. So I don't know. I just think it's an exciting time for entrepreneurship. It's an exciting time to take a gap, and it doesn't need to be large scale. You know, you know, it's about building a brand. You know, it's about building. You know, restaurants not just about restaurants. You know, it's these relationships that we build. You know, and you can't just throw money at it. Because that's not going to work. You know?
That's true.
So it's about building your brand, making sure that you're at your business, making sure that you're looking after it, and then growing it so that you can control it.
Yeah, you make having a restaurant seem like it's like for somebody sadomasochistic.
It is a little. The reason why I say that is that small business, and especially, I mean, we are a small business. We need to look after those businesses.
Right,
you know? And these relationships that I talk about, are vitally important to keep us going.
Right,
you know?
right.
The guests come there to see us. The corporates are there to see us. They want to be entertained, and they want to know that they're going to be looked after. You know?
And you're judged on every plate, every serve. It's like, I have a lot of respect for that industry and people who get it right.
Exactly.
You know, because it's every single thing you serve, right? I think in some businesses, not as high pressure.
Well, I always try and compare it to it's like having a board meeting every single day at 12 o'clock and every single day at 6 o'clock.
Right.
Like, there's no excuses.
Yes.
You've got to be ready.
Absolutely.
And the pressure is on.
Yeah.
We talk about Gordon Ramsay and him throwing the pots and pans and the language and everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you don't understand the pressure that man's under. He's running hundreds of restaurants all over the world.
Right.
He's got his TV shows, got this and that. So there's no margin for error.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we just have 2 restaurants, but I know that we have no margin for error.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think why it's more important now than ever is I think we need solutions.
Yep.
Like, we desperately need solutions. And we need people who understand and feel the problems to start solving them, right? I think when you listen to any great business story, there's always a very intimate origin moment, right? Of something that they saw, something that they felt, something that they knew, and was so close to them and their passion point that they were like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And they just, and they know all the terrible stuff that could happen, but they're just driven by this, I have to do it. And to solve some of our social problems, we need those people. Someone who is like absolutely insane about fixing roads, right? I'm not. I just, I just hope they work. I'm like, sure, exactly. But there's someone who's like, the composition of the tar and whatever. You need those people to come to the fore and to have the passion for what they do to solve social problems. We have a solution now that we just released called Taxim, and it's about shared value. It's basically people get into a taxi, and it's sponsored by a brand, and for the duration of the taxi ride, people are sold to, right? And it's just it's such a simple thing. And when it came to us, it's like we were all in taxis. We all understood how difficult it was to exchange change. But we've also been in there being annoyed by these taxi ads. And you're like, I paid for this experience. Why am I getting ads? It's like YouTube Premium, right? I paid to be in this taxi. Why are you advertising to me? But it changes the relationship completely when you're saying to someone, I'm paying for this ride, so there's value exchange, and I would like to have the 30 minutes of your time to tell you about my product. And everyone is happy. And I think we need to find more ways to make everyone happy, more win-win scenarios. Definitely. Not like I'm at the top and nobody else wins. Yeah. More like, how do you think about us all collectively winning?
Love it.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. Is it me again?
It's you.
Okay, cool. What was the most challenging part of running your business during COVID-19, and how has COVID-19 affected your business?
Am I starting?
Yeah, I think you have the story.
Well, the most challenging part of our business is that we didn't have a business. That's the bottom line. We looked at our brands. We looked at Marble. We looked at Saint, and we said to ourselves, do we do the takeaway model?
Right.
Are we serving wine in teacups?
Yeah.
And the answer was no.
Right.
Marble and Saint is about experience.
Yeah.
And we had to be very careful of damaging our brand.
Right.
But the one thing that we could do is we could still engage with our clients,
right,
and our corporate clients.
Right.
And it became quite specific. And this is what I love about it, So obviously we've got TeamViewer, we've got Zoom all of a sudden, and I was doing all these Instagram stories, and I was losing my mind slightly, but it was beautiful because there was massive engagement, and people, the thing with lockdown is it reminded us about cooking together, eating together around a table, because we were forced to, but then we remembered how beautiful it is to keep the family together. So there was obviously a lot of synergy with what I was doing and the time and the period that we were. But the great part was then all of a sudden the corporate started getting on board.
Right.
And we were able to engage with all our top level clients and very specifically. So I knew I was talking to the CEO or the marketing director or whatever.
Right.
So we had food delivered by, let's say, DHL to the homes, and sometimes in Singapore, sometimes in London, and then we've all cooked together at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But in this way, through just Instagram and then through the Zoom calls and all these beautiful things that we were doing, I was still able to engage with our clientele. And what a result we've had. You know, I've just absolutely got absolute goosebumps where all of these guys now are coming to the restaurant and engaging about what was going on and the food that was cooked and the sharing that was done. So that was a massive part of my lockdown story, of our lockdown story of Marble and Sage, you know. And the other thing that we did was we engaged, like, we came up with about 6 different business ideas. Myself, my partner, Dino, Gary, and Gary's wife, Irene. We sat around and we did all these Zoom calls and saying, you know, so what do you think? So we spoke about drive-throughs, we spoke about drive-ins, we spoke about convenience product. No, it was a cool, and we basically started 6 different businesses, but never actually followed through with it because we just felt that the timing wasn't quite right. And we didn't want to rush into anything as well.
For sure.
But in a hugely exciting time.
Right.
But the flip side of that, there was massive suffering going on. And it was very difficult to balance the two in your mind. You know?
Absolutely. The anchor for me, and I know we spoke about this earlier, it's so amazing to me that you understood what your business was about and you understood its values.
Yeah.
And then innovated around the values of the business, right? So you're like, here are the guardrails. I'm not gonna like, hey, saints in a box, you know, it can never be that way. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like COVID, you know, and the effect it had, because I think a lot of people were coming up with a lot of ideas. So in our space, there were a lot of projects that just got stopped because everybody had to relook budgets, everybody had to relook projects. Things that might have been physical events disappeared, things like, so many different changes. And it was a moment that everybody thought would be very, very exciting for us. Sure. So everybody was like, you work in digital. Oh yeah, everyone's on their screens, right? You are about to get rich. And it was weird because in that storm, we had to almost calm ourselves down. Yeah. We had to be like, what's the call? What do we do? What's our value proposition? And how do we try and use this time to progress what we want to progress? Sure. So weirdly enough, we spent a lot of time not like just trying to capitalize, but in building a lot of stuff. So we went into like real R&D mode. I mean, the product I was just talking about, we spent like over 6 months working on, right? And refining the technology, you know. And that was our relationship with it. So interesting enough, as the restrictions went down, we were ready with like these products that like people are like, when did that happen? And we kind of went into a little bit of a R&D cocoon when a lot of people in our industry were like, how do we do things quicker, you know? And being counterintuitive, I think, set us up better for the long run. And I also think a lot of lines of business that open up during COVID are now existing lines of business. Yeah. You know, that I'm sure you're going to continue with many of the things that you've started. Absolutely. So while it's a negative story, because I think many people had to make some tough decisions, business like invariably puts you in a position where you have to make tough decisions. There's a lot of optimism. Yeah. And I think that's what I took from the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Have we got time for another question? Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is this one coming from online? No, okay.
Okay, here we go. Jeez. Okay, this is a great question. In that this is not my style at all. What does your 5-year plan look like with all you know now? So I want to answer this question because, like, I'm the worst planner. I'm not going to lie. You know,
we have a vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 5-year plan, I think, you know, when there were all the rumors about going back on lockdown, just before the president made his announcement, people were saying December lockdown, shut down, no Christmas, New Year, go home. And there was a little bit of panic as there was when the alcohol thing came in. But you know, the bottom line is we took a step back. We said, okay, now we know that there's a chance that it comes. How do we prepare for it? And to be honest with you, you know, in our industry, we can't really prepare for it. You know, we're not within the structure that we have now.
Right, for sure.
So, we've got something really exciting, which is something slightly out of our business plan. My business partner has always been into retail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that we're looking at the moment. And so that's going to be a nice 5-year plan. I just can't discuss that right now.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out for Marble. We're making inroads elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I've never been a big planner.
Right.
I always feel like I work incredibly hard. I'm incredibly focused. I try and deliver on experience. And I always believe that opportunities then come your way.
Right.
If people see that you're focused and if people see, opportunities
Right,
come.
for sure.
People walk into the restaurant all the time.
Right.
We meet the most incredible people every single day.
Right.
And I know this is not a great approach. It's probably not the greatest approach to telling a young entrepreneur. But it's all about a feeling at that time. How's the country situated? How's your business situated? Where is your mind? Have you got the energy for this? And then when you've got the 5-year plan, it's almost too far for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm almost exhausted by the time I get to 5 years.
Absolutely.
So
and like the closer you get to 5 years, the less and less it feels like it's based on reality.
But exactly that.
Yeah,
like the world is changing so quickly.
Right. I can't think. So it's weird because when it comes to technology, part of what I have to do is think about the trends.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm forced to think about 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't trust what I think too much. Like I don't trust it so much that I'm not ready to change.
Yeah.
And I think. Look, what you speak about is like a dynamic capability, like, the ability to like have the toolkit, or to build the toolkit rather, to deal with change.
Sure.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't invest in the toolkit.
Yeah.
Right. So when I started, first thing I did was I wrote a business plan. It was a thick document. And I looked at it the other day. It was just so funny, right? Because I was actually like, I'm going to plan every year and how it rolls out. And I was like, no, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Because things happened.
Sure.
And I'm falling in love with the idea of emergent strategy, like a lot of like business books around emergent strategy, dynamic capability, that like really talk about the idea of being open to opportunity, right? And that seems to be the more logical way to strategize right now, is read the signs, know what's going on. But I think there is some merit to, like, 5 year isn't planning, it's dreaming. Yes. I think that's the more appropriate term. It's a goal, right? It's like in 5 years I want to be here. For some people, they wake up and that inspires them. For me, is I wake up and I think, how am I better than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's more incremental.
Yeah.
So I used to be like, big dream. Now I'm like, my dream is just try to improve every day. And if you keep doing that, then it'll work out. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I love it. Just to go back to that point, you talk about being dynamic in the business place, and this is something that we spoke about on the couch earlier.
Yes.
Sound like a psychologist, but it was this ability to adapt quickly.
Yes.
In this day and age, as a small business owner, we need to be adapted quickly because, as we've just seen, a rude awakening is that you have to expect the unexpected, and you need to be able to react that way.
Yeah.
You can't be sluggish in your responses, because otherwise you can kiss your business goodbye. Yeah, essentially.
You raised, and back to the psychologist couch we were on. You raised a point around the fact that we were already in tough economic times when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
And it's also our reaction to some of those changes. So it's like COVID was a very obvious one, because our president stood in front of us and was like, I'm shutting the country down, and everyone had to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But when it's a slow burn, like, people aren't as adaptive. So it's like over the year, it's like, oh, it's getting tough. And I think we need to be more aware of those signs, because I think some of the people who just like, prepared for winter, took what they needed to hibernate, survived.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Okay.
Have you another question?
No, there's two more.
Oh, okay. Good. No, they want to ask social questions.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
Is this live, like the people who are like chanting us now?
Right.
Okay, cool.
They said, there's one comment saying, now she's going to broadcasting. That's from Haley.
Oh.
Good job, Haley.
Okay, so we have a question for Nell from Lesepha, and he says, what entrepreneurial project have you worked on that has or is having a high impact to societal ills?
Okay. I just mentioned Taxim, which is very important. But there's another product we have called Bayaza. We're working with Standard Bank on it, which is really nice. And basically what we saw was a lot of people were affected, and a lot of things that we love. So the product's about leveraging what you love. A lot of things that we love had to die.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate. Like soccer teams couldn't play. Restaurants closed. And I was like,
no music.
No music, right?
No live music.
No, yeah, true. But again, the artists would not release their music because they want to tour their music. So
exactly.
We also didn't get music. So what we did was we thought about how people could leverage their fan base, right? Leverage what people love, right? And what Bayaza does is it aggregates all of your fans into like one place. But they're able to like interact with each other, but you can sell your merchandise in there. A lot of interesting stuff can happen there. But what's also important is it comes with a digital wallet. So from a financial inclusion perspective, in the cashless world, we're bringing more people in. Yeah. We're working with some of the bigger soccer clubs in the country. We're even working with political organizations to try bring people in. And I think once that happens, we're going to see a society where we're all engaged. Because that's my biggest fear is nihilism. Once we disengage, once we go, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care if the restaurant that we love dies. We don't care.
We were just let down by the UIF fund. We were let down by a lot of people. And the onus was on us to, and obviously the onus was on us to look after our people. I mean, there's no doubt there. But like we were restaurants, 300 staff. I mean, you can't. It was just humanly impossible to do. We also needed something to keep us going when this pandemic was over, which is still not. But and we had to be able to reopen so that we can get most of them back. So it was this massive catch-22. But what we did was, which was amazing. So my book was released last year. It was called Mile 8. And it was never meant to be. It was a bit of an autobiography, a little bit of life story, and then we made the book available to our viewers and to people on Instagram and so forth for 400 Rand, and so we started this fund, and that money, everything, the whole lot, DHL delivered it for us for nothing, but that all went to our staffing fund, and it was amazing. And then I did a 360 kilometer indoor ride. And we sold a few more books, and it gained momentum. And then I rode from Joburg down to Cape Town, and we sold more books. And we did all this beautiful interaction with corporates and the Zoom calls, and the book was involved. So this book became incredibly special to me in that we raised over R1 million.
Wow.
Man, wow. I tell you, it's like I was in tears. I was on the bike, and then... quite emotional, but on the bike, and the guys were saying, "Guys, we just like reached, we've just sold 560 books,
Whoa.
And so the whole lockdown story, although there's so much pain and everything else in it, just there's some beautiful stories that have come through, and most of our team are back. Not everybody, unfortunately. There were sacrifices made, but most of the team are back, and we
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
It's so incredible to me that like in almost like saving like your core business during that time, you had to like think out of the box, right? Yeah. But you still had to commit to your core business and its people. And wow, I commend you for that. That's incredible.
No. And obviously there were these massive projects on the go where chefs were using their kitchens as soup kitchens, right, and it also highlighted, I think, something very interesting. What it highlighted was we have all these charity events, SA Harvest and
right,
Chefs with Compassion, all these incredible foundations. But because there was such demand, and how do we get the product now to the people?
Right.
These are now it's hot soup, and there's health regulations that come into play.
Yeah.
nothing, not all of it was in place, you know. So we could produce all the things, but all of a sudden we couldn't get it to where it was going, and where's it going, and so forth.
Sure.
You know? So it highlighted a lot of things that need sorting out, that needed sorting out, and slowly but surely it's got there, you know. Interesting. The whole thing was just such a lesson.
Right.
On all levels.
Do you think that like with the industry shrinking, like especially restaurants, because I saw on Facebook there's like a list of all these restaurants.
Just take a drive
they're
around.
closed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think, like for people who work in that industry, are they like, will there still be places to absorb them? Like, and do you advise that people like go in, like open more restaurants or new restaurants? Or
so I had a beautiful conversation this morning with young chefs, and not student chefs, young chefs that have lost their work at a place in Melville called 27 Boxes.
Right.
You know, they got these container.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I went upstairs there, and they I don't know if you're familiar with the dark kitchen concept, where
no.
So essentially, you know, this guy took me around miles, and he showed me this container. So there's two guys working in this container.
Yeah.
From the restaurant industry, they obviously lost their work, and he funds these startups.
Okay.
So it's a container. It's got 4 little pizza ovens, tiny like this, one pizza at a time.
Right.
A little pasta section.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 guys working in the container with a fridge. Right.
Right.
They're turning 15,000 rand a day.
Whoa.
2 guys.
Whoa.
The Vespa literally, or the scooter literally drives in up a little ramp. It sits on the roof of a parking lot.
Right.
Picks it up, 15,000 rand a day that these 2 guys are doing.
Wow.
Entrepreneurship.
Right.
You know, taking
absolutely.
a gap, getting given an opportunity.
Right.
So these dark kitchens, so it's not a restaurant specific. No one can eat there. So it's in a dark space. You know, you don't see it. It's not on a road front. It doesn't have seating outside. There's nothing.
But it's
a
just
container on
the
top
stuff
of
you
a
need to cook.
top of a parking lot.
That's incredible.
And you can brand you know, you can call it, you know, Siba's Pizza Place or whatever the case is. And that's on Uber Eats. You know, or on Mr. Delivery, whatever, and that's where it lives. It doesn't need to live anywhere else.
That's brilliant.
So great, and this was on the before lockdown because of the industry was in such a state. But now it's really a massive, definitely wrapped up properly.
Wow!
But just a lovely space. Food trucks, another one.
Right.
You know, finding your customer. You
right.
know? Like Monday might be different to a Tuesday, might be different to a weekend.
Yeah.
So there's massive opportunity for stuff, and restaurants as well, because you know, But my warning to you is that with restaurants, like, you know, you need to start small. Don't try and be clever. You know, people need to get to know you. People need to get to trust you. You need to get to know your customers, and then slowly but surely grow into it. You know, that would be my advice.
Ooh, this I guess ties into the next question. It's the last one, and it's from Mpo, and she says, "I would love to start my own fast food restaurant. But in the meantime, I have lost my job because of COVID-19 pandemic. So my question is, how do I start small? Please advise."
Yeah. Well, fast food is the perfect market at the moment. You know, I think with people, convenience food. You know, let's call it convenience food. You know, something that either pick up very quickly or get delivered very quickly. Yeah. And the beauty of of a fast food business is that it's exactly what we're talking about. You can really start small. And please get in touch with me on my Instagram, David Higgs Chef, and I'll put you in touch with Miles, because they are at the moment giving away 10 businesses, small businesses. They're giving them away as little startups.
Oh, wow.
These little containers, yeah. So, Mpo, this might be your chance.
Oh, wow.
So my feeling is exactly that. Start small. Make sure that you understand your product. Make sure that you understand who you're selling your product to. You know, that's also important. Where you open your little shop. There's so many little things that come into play. But you need to understand your product and who you're selling your product to. I think that's very, very important.
For sure.
And what your market is and how you pitch it and the pricing points. But I would say that fast food idea, that little dark kitchen somewhere where it's inexpensive rentals, but you can really focus on a quality product is a great start. And build a name behind it, and Paul. Use your name. You know, build up your Instagram following so that people get to know you and trust you. And you know, I don't know. Give us some more. Give us some out of restaurant.
I was gonna say, like, I was gonna ask another question because it's just I think it's about differentiation as well, right? And I think it's so many times I see people trying to have too little differentiation. So it's like 4 burger shops in a row, 4 kota shops in a row, and it's like red ocean. Everyone's trying to compete on price. Quality starts to go down, right? So that happens a lot. And then on the flip side, what also happens is somebody over innovates, right? So then they bring through something that like, it's like, how are we even supposed to, consume this?
Take something like a chicken that we all understand, and then it's this.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's, and we're actually talking about value before, which is
exactly
right. The simplest thing I think in food is just when I look at it, do I feel like I've paid a decent amount for something that's presented well and is appetizing and tastes good, That's why boerewors rolls are so successful. It's just like, it's literally there. It's like, there's the meat. There's my $25, right?
And we understand
it. Exactly. So not being simple, but I think what can you do to something as humble as a boerewors roll that can differentiate it, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you adding a little bit of chili? Are you adding a certain kind of cheese? I don't know. I'm not a chef per se.
Yeah, well, that's where I come.
Exactly. So, but I do know that when you change something just a little bit, the market understands what it is, but you can have massive impact, just with a small change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I think, is it not maybe the visual as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, we perceive the value and the flavors there, everything, that whole package there. But then it's also, nowadays the phone is such a massive marketing tool.
Right.
So we take the photograph. Right. Wow, got to have that boerewors roll. Like, where is that? Where, the colors and I just, I was telling these young people today. Like, what is it about Johannesburg, South Africa, but specifically Johannesburg? What is it about Johannesburg that sets it apart from New York, from London, from Singapore?
Yeah.
So, yes, these are all melting pots
yes.
of many different nations, many different cultures. But you know what makes Johannesburg so incredibly special? And the energy, what gives it the energy? For me, it's a melting pot of African countries.
Right, that's beautiful.
So we're talking art. What has happened to art in the last 15 to 20 years? Or even less. Art, music, culture, food. It's vibrant. There's no country in the world that has the vibrance that we have here.
That's so true. That's so true.
Is that not a...
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you're always like just a block away from something different. And I think talking on the consumer side, people do need to explore more. Oftentimes we talk about small business as being on the entrepreneur, but I think a lot of people need to open their eyes to everything that's going on.
Sure.
There's some really special experiences just around the corner from you. There's some really interesting stuff you get involved in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think you're right about anchoring your differentiator, right? What makes Johannesburg special? So I'm sure it's what makes Marble special. I'm sure it's what makes Saint special. I'm sure it's what makes your menu special, is thinking and being inspired by the place that we're in. And from Paul as well, is like, I think if you're going to make food, maybe start with like figuring out what you're going to make. Right? And why it's special, And
who are you going to sell it to?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Oh. Right.
Okay, cool.
You're right.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Yeah. My friend, just
nice
what a pleasure.
Yeah. So, come through tomorrow again at 5:30. We're going to have Uneza Suleiman and Austin Malema with us. This has been awesome. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody.
David, take us to Saint.
Saint's close today. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow.